Dear family, it's your cousin P, man. You're so black and so beautiful. Look at, I pray all is well out there, man. Hey, I was just thinking, right? You know, I had a great conversation this morning, and I was speaking on the understanding of helping, the understanding of trying, and the understanding of putting in work. And what I said was so powerful. All praises due to Allah. He be blessing me with a great understanding. You know, we as human beings have forever leaned on our own understanding other than who created life himself, God. So we get emotionally disturbed in believing we come up with the right solutions or we have the right answer to the problems. And this is why the Holy Quran says, seek refuge in Allah in the time of trouble. This is why the scripture reveals to follow the examples and follow the examples of the prophets, and Jesus is the perfect example of God himself. We find ourselves leaning on our own understandings and our own ideologies and theories on what we assume is right, on what we suggest is right. Well, I want to refer to these terms and these understandings and the meanings of trying. In relationships, people always say, I'm trying to do this. Trying is not necessarily good as working to produce what you want. People always say, I did my best to help a situation. You have to work to produce the situation that you desire. And this is why scripture reveals faith is dead without works. Trying is a faith point of view. I'm trying to. Trying is when you're working out for a football team or a baseball team, they call it tryouts. You trying to make the team. So whatever in you, you have to manifest it out to the coaches to determine whether or not you are the person for the position. So there's a lot of people trying out. Some of them got dogs, some of them don't. So when you're trying to accomplish something, your results will determine how much effort or dog you have in you. You got to look at yourself. So a lot of people will try out for the team, and the roster is 20 people on a baseball team, 25, 50 try out, 25 make it. But there's only going to be 9 people starting. Those 9 people, not only did they try out for the team, they put in the necessary work to produce what they seen themselves doing, and that's being a starter. See, when you put in work in something, you don't just try it. You do the necessary studies. You do the necessary exercise. You put in the necessary strength, conditioning, and work, because you working to produce what your heart desires. If you're just trying to do something, that don't necessarily mean that you put in the work to produce it. Because when you're working and you don't get it right, you go back to the drawing board and come back and start working more to produce what you want. See, that's the same in relationships. People are always saying, I'm trying. You got to put in the necessary work, because if you fail at what you thought you believed would work, that means that you got to go back to the board and figure it out. See, there is no excuses for your failures. And this is why they had the saying that failure is not an option. Well, if failure is not an option, what the hell are you giving up for? What the hell are you still not? What the hell are you putting in the lack thereof and continuously saying, I tried is a cop-out. You got to will yourself to success. You got to know it belongs to you. You got to know what you want is what you manifest. What you want is what you will bring into existence. If you want things to be better than what they are, you got to put in the work, baby. If you want groceries in your house, you got to get up, put in the work of driving, put in the work of thinking, going to the grocery store and picking out what you want. You working, you ain't trying nothing. You putting in the work. So understand, dear family, get away from trying. And, when you producing something, when you have produced a business for self, when you have put in the necessary work to get you residual income, and you go out and buy you a car, or you go out and buy you a house, you don't let nobody just come in and devalue what you put in. Tear up your car, tear up your house. You gonna say, y'all can get the hell up out of here with that, because I didn't try to put in the work. I put in the necessary work to get out the necessary things I wanted for self. I ain't tried to do shit. I put in the work, and I'll be damned if I allow anyone to come devalue or diminish or destroy or terrorize what I have produced for self. So, family, understand the difference between work. You have legitimate argument if you are in a relationship and you put in the necessary work and somebody betray you. You have legitimate argument. But if you ain't putting no work in the relationship, what defines work to you? A conversation? What defines work to you? Sex? What defines work to you, dear family? Because a sex is a feel-good mechanism. A conversation is a conversation, but they always tell you that don't talk about it, be about it. That means put in that work. We could talk nice and gullible and popcorn and fruits all we want. But what is the work that you put in? And work represents investment, dear family. You got to put in the necessary investment to declare or identify or even have the right to suggest that you put in, that you hold value in somebody's life. Man, come on, man. Dear family, I'm giving y'all wisdom right now. If you ain't put in no work, you see me produce, you see me running a business. Did you do the necessary? And I came up, and in my business, I came up against a crossroad on how I do something. And I told you about it as my friend, or as my cousin, or as my son, or as my brother. Did you put in the necessary work to research for me the information I need to produce what I have to make my situation better than what it is? See, you can determine the real from the fake. And this is why the podcast is titled, You Can't Keep It Real with Everybody, because everybody ain't real, because you don't know what real is. But this conversation is trying versus working. I told you about my dilemma. Did you put in the necessary work to help me overcome? That's when you know you have made an investment in the human being. If you see me going through something, do you come up off of what you got going on and come put in work to help me? Or are you just talking? to help me. Work and talking is two different entities, dear family, and I just want y'all to know. With majority of my children, I love all my children, make no mistake about it. But with several of my children, there's discrepancies and differences between us. And I looked at my life with those children. And I always, in my rap song, I said I allowed the money to replace the father thinking shit gonna change. See, money don't sustain relationships or produce relationships. Because money comes and goes. It don't build nothing. And so by me constantly supporting and giving money, I thought that the children's love the children would identify my love for them, to make sure they got the clothes, to make sure they got the food, to make sure they stuff ain't turned off. I thought investing the money will produce the relationship between us in the harmony of love. But when the money run dry, what do you have to sustain the relationship if you ain't spending time? See, time is work. This is why the children's love the mother regardless of how bad she is, whatever differences they have. They see no flaw in the mother, because the mother and those of us as fathers that put in the time inside of the children is more tangible than money. You feel what I'm saying? It's more tangible than money. So when you thinking that money sustains relationships, that's like trying to buy love. Work and time sustains and builds everything, dear family. Work and time invested sustains and fulfills and builds everything, dear family. So in conclusion, people that say I tried to do this or I tried to do that, the universal law is everything is based on law in the universe. And this is why I started this podcast by saying your understanding ain't greater than God's understanding. You have the emotional understanding. You get mad because you didn't had sex with a man, or you didn't bought a man something, and you thinking that for some of those women or some of those men, you had did this for a woman, financially given to a woman, or tried to do this and do this. That don't sustain relationships. You have to put in the work, the investment of seeing something evolving is when you put in the necessary work, and you qualified to be angry if the shit don't work out. You qualified, but if you ain't put in no work, what have you sustained inside the building? The universe has a law to it. The sun spins on a universal law, 1,037 and 1/3 miles per hour. That's the law. It's spinning at that speed. It gets its energy from the sun, attracting the moon to spin at such a terrific speed on a law. The moon and the stars rotate on a law. Some days you see the moon. Some days you don't see the moon. Where does the moon go? Some days you see the stars. Some days you don't see the stars. Where do the stars go? And some days the sun is invisible. Where does the sun go? Everything moves on a universal law. So when you lean on your own understanding, emotional understanding on what you think something should be, always know that faith is dead without works. There's a law that you have to study in order to get the tangibles or get what you want the best out of. There's a law to it. And so if everything is based on a universal law, everything is based on a universal law, and it is. You are created in the likeness and image of God, which is on a universal law. So when you put bad foods in this body, your body rejected with pain. Your body rejected with sickness because you're entering into the body foreign things and it's going against the law in which you were created. See, some of y'all lean on your own understanding opposed to God's understanding. So your relationships don't work out. So your banking management skills don't work out. Your friendships don't work out. Because you think by leaning on your own intelligence and not God's intelligence is best for you. Well, I want to say to all of you, dear family, anytime there's a discrepancy in anything, go to the book and study what to do. There's a law and there's a guideline on how to replenish relationships, regovern relationships properly. Universal laws: treat people how you want to be treated. Too much of anything is no good. If you're too arrogant, if you're too cocky, if you're too damn stubborn, if you're too damn mean, if you're too damn feisty, it's too much of it. So of course you're not going to get out the things you want out of the relationship because you invested too much energies that clash. But if you want the best out of something, you have to be able to manage your emotion. You have to be able to have a decent conversation. You have to be able to put in the necessary work instead of leaning on your own emotional tyrant behaviors, including men, to get what you want. See, that's the work that I'm talking about in producing what you want. You cannot lean on your own ideology of what you think is right. But for those who help an individual work to produce peace in one's life, for those who help to produce a greater understanding in one's life, those are the ones that's in your best interest. Those that invest nothing ain't qualified. So with that said, dear family, there's a difference between trying, helping, and working. Go back and listen to this podcast, and let's not lean on our own emotional understandings, and let's lean on God's understanding. Because if you lean on the God who created and produced life himself, who knows best how to cultivate and produce and make wrongs right, but God, who created it all. Lean on his understandings. What would he do? What did the prophets do? And we will learn that an investment requires working. Talking is not an investment. Talking is not an investment. That's why they say actions speak louder than words, because it's the work that's put in to produce what we want. With that said, dear family, it's your cousin P, so black and so beautiful. I'm in the studio with DJ Daryl. I got 2 more songs to do. I'm looking for a singer too. If you a great singer, tap in with me. I got something for you. A great singer. I don't want no half-baked singers. I need a great singer. Tap in with your cousin P. All right? Know the difference between trying and working. 2 different powers, 2 different energies, 2 different spirits. May Allah bless us. Peace.